The following video contains footage from the Endwalker Media Tour. As such, this footage is not representative of the final product, and you will find significant differences both visually and elsewhere. I do remind you, please do not take this as the final version, but at the same time, thank you to Square Enix for providing me with this opportunity, and I hope you enjoy this. Alright, hello and welcome to the Summoner first playthrough, and honestly, whilst I didn't really know a ton about Summoner prior to this, I'd like to think that I have a fairly interesting understanding of the new version, or at least the basic stuff. But here we are then. I thought we'd include some footage in this. Actually more footage than a lot of the other tooltip ones I'm looking at. So we summon our Carbuncle. You'll see there's a lot less buttons on our bar here. So we're going to start with Ruin just to put us in combat, but you'll notice that our summon of Bahamut is already lit up. That's the first thing. So we can literally, as soon as we're in combat, we can actually summon Bahamut and start enkindling it and all of the usual stuff, which is interesting. We've got Death Flare, and our Ruin has changed to Astral Impulse, which is our spam. So whilst Ruin is basically still going to be weaved in, I presume, it changes to a different button, and you'll see that other buttons are changing here as well. We just summoned Titan, and we have Mountain Buster and Topaz Catastrophe, which, as you can see, are instant cast. And then we have another Mountain Buster, and he's gone. Then we go straight into Garuda. She has Slipstream, which is a casted ability. And then we have Emerald Catastrophe, which we spam, and that does a ton of damage. And then we have Ifrit straight away. And with Ifrit, I save this one till last because the first move is to actually jump in a gap closer. And once we've finished with Ifrit's 2 charges, we get Ruby Catastrophe, which is kind of like our finisher, which we go through. And then we summon straight into Phoenix and then start enkindling and using Brand of Purgatory. And you'll notice that our first button, Fountain of Fire, now instead of Ruin, so it replaces Ruin on the bar. So we just rotate through that and weave in as many of those spells. And then we're back straight into another Titan again. You'll notice on the job gauge we have locks on things, and those unlock upon usage of a full rotation of one of those particular summons, right? So now they're unlocked again. Now we summon Garuda, so that means anything else is locked. We're locked out of that choice because we've chosen. I can't see an eventuality where I would want to summon Ifrit first, because of that gap closer, so I always seem to leave it till last. I'm not sure if that's the optimal way of doing it. Like I say, I am not a master of Summoner in any way, shape or form, and I think a lot of people will be like me going, what does this button do? You'll notice I managed to fit in one normal Ruin there because there was nothing happening before I could summon Bahamut again, but here we are back into the same rotation. And then as soon as we're done with Bahamut, we'll have Titan again, or Garuda, or Ifrit, whichever we choose, but I'll go probably Titan, Garuda. There doesn't seem to be any penalization for choosing either Garuda or Titan first. But yeah, that's all the footage I could show you. But if we look back at this job action trailer, which is publicly available, you'll see them do it a little bit better, and we have it up on screen. So that maybe will help you understand what's going on a little bit more. But they actually did a full rotation of abilities there before summoning Bahamut. But of course you don't have to. But yeah, there's pretty much the Astral Flare, etc. But yeah, I really don't know how I'm supposed to do it any other way. It just seems like having the abilities there, and they seem so powerful, you want to press them. It's very hard to fit in anything else into a rotation, and also with the removal of dots completely that you don't have to track anymore, it does seem quite simplified. I'm sure there is still a very high skill ceiling, but for me personally, I found it to be very much pick up and play, and it was very, very straightforward. But I'm not sure if I was doing things correctly anyway. But here are the tooltips. I'm going to put these on screen for you, and we'll read through these. But yeah, it looks very fluid because it's very, very fluid in general. And a lot of those buttons are instant cast. So it does allow for more movement around the screen. rather than standing there and casting, which is something that Summoner already had a bit of, but now it seems to be incredibly mobile. And there's a huge incentive, I think, in this particular content in Endwalker for casters to not be locked down, and same with melee. Actually, there's lots of gap closes and lots of movement speed increases, as we've seen with Scholar as well, with the AoE, the shield plus the movement speed, right? That's an interesting buff to have. So it implies that we'll be going very quickly, and the dungeon run Tower of Zot did go really quite apace. It just felt nice and fluid. There was less stopping for things if I wanted to. I could just plow my way through it because the abilities allowed for that. But anyway, let's look at these tooltips briefly. Right, and so when it comes to tooltips, I'll just read what they say, and we'll talk about them if I have anything to say. So Ruin available at level 1 then. We're not going to worry too much about potencies. We've got Summon Carbuncle available at level 2 now. So essentially what's happened is that you have you still have your Aegis for low level content. They still do appear, but your first thing is obviously your Carbuncle still, so that's still going to be there, and you can choose to obviously glamour those as you can currently in the game. We've got Radiant Aegis, obviously, which is to, ordering the Carbuncle to execute Radiant Aegis. That's at level 2. We have Physic, which we still have. I'm surprised we still have Physic, honestly. It's one of the things I've never been too sure about having in the game, where if it's useful or not, but we still have Physic. Now we have level 6 with Ether Charge, obviously grants an Ether Charge increasing the potency of Ruin or Ruin 2 by 50 and Outburst by 20 on a 15-second duration. Also granting Ruby Arcanum, Topaz Arcanum, or Emerald Arcanum. Pretty much same thing before. We've got Summon Ruby Carbuncle, that's available at level 6. So you'll be able to rush to the target and deal fire damage. So yeah, you'll have your Aegis still. It will just change as you go, basically, the higher level you get, as you'll see. Then we have Gemshine. This is one of our new abilities. So this is available from level 6 then. This channels the energies of your active elemental attunement to attack your enemy. So of course you do different abilities. This button changes into a different ability depending on what affinity you are currently in with what particular summon, etc. Right? So if you've got fire attunement, you get fire. You do fire damage to a single target. If it's earth, you do earth damage to a single target. And if it's wind, you do wind damage to a single target. So that's pretty much the button you saw in my footage that was always changing, or one of the buttons. Fest is still there. That deals unexpected damage with a potency of 300, costing 1 ether flow gauge cost. Energy drain's still there, basically. We have our Resurrection, which apparently we nearly lost. That was something that was going to be on the table of removal, but we managed to keep that as a summoner, which is quite cool. Summon Topaz is at level 15, which is there. And then we also get Summon Emerald Carbuncle at level 22, basically. So there you go. That's on screen if you want to have a look at that. Then we have Outburst, which obviously is still here, dealing unexpected damage with a potency of 100 to target all enemies near it. That's our AoE. Then we got Precious Brilliance. So this one's interesting. This channels the energies of your active elemental attunement. So basically, Gemshine and then Precious Brilliance is the other one. So this is another one of the buttons that changes depending on what attunement we have, as you saw in my footage previously. Rune 2 available at level 30. Then we have Summon Ifrit available at level 30, obviously, because that's part of the storyline, obviously. Summon Titan at 35. And then we have Pain Flare still at level 40. I think it was 40 previously. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then we get Summon Garuda at level 45. So from level 30 onwards, you can start doing those like Gemshine abilities to customize what attacks you do. And at level 45, you get Garuda, which fills those 3 in a rotation. But of course, you don't get Bahamut until later on still. Energy Siphon, we still have level 52 there. That's our AoE. Damage, potency 100, additional effect of granting Ether Flow 2, granting further Ruin 60 seconds. Yep. And then at level 54, Ruin 3. Then we got Dreadworm Trance at level 58, which allows us to enter Dreadworm Trance for 20 seconds. And this changes Ruin 3 to Astral Impulse and Outburst to Astral Flare. Obviously, we still have that. So basically, you still have that until later anyway, when you just get to basically summon Bahamut straight away. Astral Flow at level 60, which channel the energies of your active trance or elemental favor to perform one of several actions. And as you can see, you rekindle Crimson Cyclone, Mountain Buster, and Slipstream. So that's at that point where you gain the abilities of Garuda, Ifrit, and Titan, obviously, and yeah, basically Bahamut and Phoenix as well. So that's at level 60 when you get Astral Flow. So you can do your basic rotation, but you don't get the full, the further abilities for that, like you saw in the footage, until about level 60. Ruin 4 then, there. And then we have Searing Light at level 66. Orders Carbuncle to execute Searing Light. Increases damage dealt by self and all nearby party members by 3%. Nice little buff there. Then at level 70, of course, we get Summon Bahamut, which is pretty much how it was before. We get level 70 Enkindling of Bahamut. But you'll also notice that Bahamut is, it's instant cast. At that point, it's not requiring anything other than being in combat with, I'm pretty sure. That'll be based on a trait, no doubt. Then we have Enkindle Bahamut. Tri-Disaster at level 74, dealing unaspected damage with a potency of 120 to a target and all enemies nearby it. We've got Summon Ifrit 2 at level 90, so we get our upgraded versions of these, okay? This is basically where you have... It's basically just a rank up at the end of the day. And you get Summon Titan 2 and Summon Garuda 2 at level 90. It's so that they could separate the potencies and have a completely different experience as you're leveling. It will obviously simplify the leveling process, as you've seen, because you don't have to worry about dots anymore. They're completely gone. Astral Impulse, level 58 then, obviously. Astral Flare. Then we have Death Flare and Worm Wave, which is at level 70. We have our traditional Akmorn at level 70. Then we have Ruby Right at 72, which is dealing damage, fire damage with a potency of 430. That uses the fire attunement cost, as you can see, of 1. So, that's from when you've pressed your Ifrit ability and you're attuned to Ifrit, you can use Ruby Right. Same with Topaz right there with Titan's Favor. Emerald, obviously, with the Wind attunement. And Fountain of Fire with the Firebird. And Brand of Purgatory at level 80. Obviously dealing fire damage with a potency of 180 to target and all enemies near it. In Firebird Trance, that's when we're into Phoenix. And you get Phoenix at level 80, obviously, as you did before. Everlasting Flights at level 80 as well, restoring health and the health of nearby party members for 21 seconds, 100 potency. Rekindle, obviously, at level 80. Then we have Scarlet Flame at 80, and Kindling the Phoenix at 80, Revelation still at level 80. Then we have Ruby Catastrophe, which is, as you saw, towards the end of my rotation of using those 3 gems. Basically, Ruby Catastrophe was the button that lit up. This deals fire damage with a potency of 180 to the target and all enemies near it. That was pretty much, it's fire attuned, but that's the one that popped up. And then you have Topaz Catastrophe, which is actually the one with Titan that we use. Emerald Catastrophe. So these are the casted abilities, the instant casts based on what we started with. The reason Ruby was lit up is because I started, obviously, with Ifrit being the last one. So that's how I was finishing. That was kind of like the finisher I went with. Then we had Crimson Cyclone, obviously instant cast, which is one of the Ifrit abilities, which is really awesome. It rushes forward and delivers a fire attack to the target and all enemies nearby with a potency of 430 for the first enemy and 65% less for all remaining enemies. Can only be executed under the... Yeah. So that's the other ability. So basically you get like 2 abilities per thing. But obviously each of the summons has 3 charges apart from Ifrit, that only has 2, which is... that's why I always pivot Ifrit towards the last spell I use, especially because of the gap closer as well. Crimson Strike at level 86, dealing fire damage to the target and all enemies near it with a potency of 430 for the first enemy, 65% for all remaining, under the effect of Crimson Cyclone. Obviously, you press Crimson Cyclone and then that's the follow-up. Basically, the button lights up after that. Then we have Mountain Buster, which is obviously to deal with Titan's Favor. We can press that. Then we have Slipstream, which is the cast ability from summoning Garuda. You cast that, and then you're able to spam Emerald Catastrophe. So Emerald Catastrophe requiring you to cast the Slipstream first. And that's pretty much it. It's a fairly basic rotation. We also have Radiant Aegis at level 2. Barrier around you that absorbs damage totaling 20% of your maximum health, and Searing Light at level 64, increasing damage dealt by yourself and nearby party members by 3% for 30 seconds. But yeah, for the most part, the important ones then are obviously the level 82 abilities and the way that they've changed it. So you're still going to have the Aegis present. I will show a very small picture here of that actually happening. But yeah, it's actually really quite fluid. Without playing it yourself, I can't explain it further. Like I said, though, I don't know full terminology. I don't remember exactly what's changed from the live version of the game, and I don't profess to be incredibly good at Summoner. And I think many people as well won't be classified as being very good at Summoner because it's a brand new job, effectively, with very little overlap from what was there before. Right, let's just quickly go through the traits as well, because people will be interested about those. So, Enhanced Ether Charge, then available at level 15, granting Ruby Arcanum and Topaz Arcanum upon executing Ether Charge. This lasts for 15 seconds. So that's available at 15. We have Maim and Mend, which is, you'll see this across the board. This increases the base action damage and health restoration by 10%. Also increases the base damage and health restoration of your pet by 10%. This is available at level 20. So you get a nice boost at 20. There's Enhanced Ether Charge number 2 at level 22, which is 15 seconds. So nothing really has changed other than just a rank up of that. Affecting Emerald, Topaz, and Ruby Arcanums. Then we have Ruin Mastery at level 30. So this is where Ruin changes to Ruin 2, and that's at level 30. Quite low. I'm not sure if it was the same previously. I need a citation on that one, but that's nice. We have Ruby Summoning Mastery, which changes Summon Ruby to Summon Ifrit. So at level 30, you gain access to summoning of Ifrit, like actual Ifrit, as you saw in my gameplay as early as level 30, basically. So that's where, so basically pre-level 30, you have your carbuncles for each of the individual different affinities. So you have fire affinity with your ruby, etc., topaz for your earth, right? That's how that works, and emerald for your wind. So that's how you circle through your affinities for those buttons. But as soon as you hit level 30, you start gaining the summons. So you get Summon Ifrit at 30, Topaz becomes Summon Titan at level 35. Then at level 40, you get Maim and Mend 2. This increasing the base damage and health restoration by 30%. Also increasing base damage and health restoration of your pet by 30%. So that's a direct rank up at 40. Then at level 45, Summon Emerald turns into Summoning Garuda. So that's when you gain access to your complete rotation of those 3 at 45. At level 50, you get Enkindle. This trait enhances the signature attack of summons, upgrading Ifrit Aegis Burning Strike to Inferno, Titans to Rockbuster to Earth and Fury, and Garuda Aerial Slash to Aerial Blast. So these are the ones that summon when you actually bring them out for the first time. It's at level 50 that basically changes their abilities, and both visually and damage-wise as well. At level 54, Rune Mastery 2 is available, which upgrades Rune 2 to Rune 3, so that's when that'll be on your bars. Ether Charge Mastery at level 58 upgrades Ether Charge to Dreadworm Stance. And then Enhanced Energy Siphon at level 62, which grants further Ruin upon executing Energy Drain or Energy Siphon. Then at level 70, we get Enhanced Dreadworm Trance, upgrading Dreadworm Stance to summon Bahamut. So instead of just having to go through the trance and all that stuff, you basically get to summon Bahamut at level 70 straight away. It just changes the button, as you've seen in the gameplay. Rune Mastery 3 then at level 72. This actually upgrades the Fire, Wind and Earth attunements to Ruby Right, Topaz Right and Emerald Right, which will obviously replace Gem Shine on your bars, depending on which one you have summoned, or which attunement you have to which element. At level 74, Outburst Mastery, which upgrades Outburst to Tri-Disaster. That's at 74. Then you've got Enhanced Summon Bahamut, which upgrades Summon Bahamut to Summon Phoenix when Demi Bahamut returns from summoning. So, of course, you have your Demi Bahamut, and then obviously that button will change, and then you have to go through your full rotation of the three, Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda in whichever order you want, and then you'll gain access to your Phoenix summoning once again. But only once that, and it just changes the button on your bar, so that means you don't have to have multiple buttons. At level 82, you get Outburst Mastery 2, which enhances the Precious Brilliance ability according to your current elemental attunement. So you get Fire, Wind, and Earth attunement upgrades at level 82, Ruby Catastrophe, Topaz Catastrophe, and Emerald Catastrophe. Then, as we said, Rune Mastery 4 at level 84 increases the potency. We're not really interested in potencies right now, but Rune 3 to 310, Ruby Right to 430, and Topaz Right to 330, and Emerald Right to 230. This is all subject to change at level 84 then. And then at level 86, Elemental Mastery. This grants Ifrit's favor upon executing Summon Ifrit, Titan's favor upon executing Topaz Right, and Garuda's favor upon executing Summon Garuda. This enhances Astral Flow according to your current elemental favor. So that changes the favor upgrades of Ifrit, Titan, and Garuda to Crimson Cyclone, Mountain Buster, and Slipstream. So that's when you get those abilities at level 86 to fill in that part of your rotation. Then, second to last, at level 88, the trait we get is Enhanced Brilliant Aegis, which allows the accumulation of charges for consecutive uses of Brilliant Aegis, a maximum charges of 2, that's at level 88. And finally, the last trait at level 90 is Ascended Summoning. This upgrades Summon Ifrit and Summon Ifrit 2, Summon Titan 2, and Summon Garuda to Summon Garuda 2, basically giving you access to those empowered versions of your summons available then only at level 90 and onwards into the future. So that's the traits. Yeah, that's basically how the back end works behind that. But take everything with a pinch of salt. But that was my experiences with Summoner. I enjoyed it. I felt that it was very fluid in combat. I felt that it was completely different to how old Summoner worked, and that's actually a positive thing in my book. I quite liked the way that it played. You might not. I don't think any other job in the game plays quite like Summoner will do in Endwalker, in my honest opinion. I think it is a really unique thing. There's lots of instant cast abilities, and you can do what I did and bodge your way through the content, and it looks incredibly flashy and very powerful. But I'm sure I'm missing something along the lines. But yeah, there just seems to be a lot of cut back on annoying abilities. And as much as dots weren't a problem with me to track, it's one less thing to worry about for sure. You can just get straight in, summoning Bahamut and then going crazy. And then you go through those 3 different primals, each with their own abilities. Then you summon Phoenix and you've just got time for like another Ruin or something. And then you're straight back into it again. It feels really good, very fast, and I can imagine this will be quite fun in fights where you have to move a lot. I don't think there's a lot of punishment. I would say that the gap closer is rather painful. I can imagine dying to that quite a bit. Stuff like Suzaku, I would probably, or fights like that with holes in the floor or no barriers, I'm going to end up gap closing into something, aren't I? But that is the nature of it. Anyway, let me know what you think about Summoner from what I've shown. Try to be a little less harsh on me in the comment section. I know I'm a noob when it comes to Summoner. I will freely admit it, but I wanted to include footage and talk about it for those of you who do know what they're doing, can look at this and go, all right, well, he knows nothing about this job, but at least I can get something from it. And that's the goal of this video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember, anything featured in here, potencies, percentages, and otherwise are a work in progress. This is not a final build. And I would like to remind you that don't dwell on potencies or percentages or numbers. Wait until the actual release of Endwalker, which is very, very soon. Much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.